Let's see.
On World News Tonight this Thursday, another teenage boy in another school shoots his classmates. One is killed, many are injured. His parents are found dead as well. 32 years of dictatorship are over in Indonesia, but will democracy take hold? And for those who fly, technology on the cutting edge, clear air turbulence that may finally be visible.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. Springfield, Oregon. This time the boy was 15. It was in the school cafeteria that he went after his fellow students. So far, at least one of them has died. Several others are in critical or serious condition. More than 24 were injured. And once again, the violence unfolded in front of disbelieving teenagers. The boy is Kiplen Kinkle. One question tonight is whether he killed his parents on the way to school. ABC's Brian Rooney is in Springfield.
A new school, a familiar scene. One after the other, the wounded were brought out on stretchers and gurneys. Some were able to walk on their own. Students in the cafeteria at Thurston High shortly before class started said a young man walked in and calmly started shooting with a rifle.
I thought it was just like a kid playing a prank because he acted so calm about it. I thought it was just like a prank or something. He acted like he had a fake gun, like a cap gun. He was just going.
I think it was black fatigue. He started shooting. He got off about 5 shots before anyone could do anything.
There was blood all over the floor, and it, pools of blood by his kid's head.
This girl said she had been sitting with her boyfriend and got up to get breakfast moments before the shooting started.
This guy came in with what looked like a pellet gun, and he just started firing out in the crowds in the cafeteria, and he just mowed him down, and then he mowed him down again.
Her boyfriend was killed. Several other students wrestled the shooter to the floor and held him until police arrived.
Based on his statements, we asked the sheriff's office to check his parents' house.
And there in a rural area, police found the bodies of a man and a woman in the house. The boy identified as the shooter, Kiplen Kinkle, is a 15-year-old freshman who was suspended from school yesterday for bringing a gun on school grounds.
He always talked about how he wanted to blow up the world or shoot people.
He was voted most likely to start World War III.
Within minutes, frightened parents began to arrive.
I've been thanking God all morning that my children are safe. Both of them were in the vicinity of the shooting. Alan was in a hair's breadth of getting shot.
This was to be senior skip day and a weekend for celebration. But just days away from graduation, Michelle Calhoun was left to remember her dead boyfriend.
He wasn't just my boyfriend, he was my best friend.
Just how the school and the police missed the warnings of tragedy is as yet unexplained. The 15-year-old boy is scheduled for arraignment tomorrow, and authorities say he will be charged as an adult. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Springfield, Oregon.
Well, clearly we want to take a closer look at this because he was arrested, he was expelled, and he was released into his parents' custody. Could more have been done? We'll get to that as we take a closer look. News travels so fast these days that within minutes the whole country is sharing the agony of another small town. And inevitably there is this frustrating question, can't anything be done? Here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
They are the names many parents can recite by heart. Pearl, Mississippi, and Paducah, Kentucky, Jonesboro, Arkansas, and Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. So many dead in so short a time.
You worry about it. You worry about it all the time.
It's shocking. It's disgusting. It's horrifying.
I know it can happen any place. I've seen the frustration, and the kids need help.
It is not that the nation has been doing nothing. In some schools, it's metal detectors. In others, it's police dogs. In all, it's a zero-tolerance policy where guns are concerned. At least 6,000 guns were taken from students last year, but even tight security has its limits.
Schools were not built for that kinds of security, so the numbers of windows, doors, and other means of getting weapons in are plentiful. We have trouble keeping weapons out of prisons, much less out of schools.
There is no one simple answer, no perfect solution. But in every case this year, there were warning signs that went unheeded, and that mistake, at least, appears to be happening less and less. This month, a 15-year-old was arrested outside of Chicago for for what may have been no more than a fantasy plot to kill classmates.
If we've taken steps that are viewed as strong and aggressive steps, they were done with public safety in mind and the health and welfare of our children in mind.
A Northern California school expelled a student who wrote an especially violent short story. But getting tough is only the first step.
We need to intercede, and if in fact there's an immediate threat, address that, but over the long term, provide the kinds of counseling, provide the kinds of mediation to help them deal with the conflicts that they're dealing with.
That is the lesson of Pearl, Mississippi, and Paducah, Kentucky, Jonesboro, Arkansas, and today's Springfield, Oregon. Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.
So many people looking back. 2 months ago, after the shootings in Jonesboro, Arkansas, we talked to Ronald Stevens, the director of the National School Safety Center. And he joins us again this evening, in this case from Los Angeles. Mr. Stevens, what did I ask you then? What did we say then? And is there anything different now?
The book is still being written on the strategies to look for when youngsters commit these acts of crime and violence. And once again, it's critically important for parents to know what the day is like at the school, and for the schools, once they suspend or expel a youngster who's brought a weapon to school, to have some clear procedures for follow-up with law enforcement, with the parents, with school officials, to make sure that additional precautions are taken at the schoolhouse gate.
You look like you put your finger on something here, because having been arrested and expelled and placed into his parents' custody, there were clearly strong warning signs here.
Well, absolutely. And there's a number of things that we know about shooters that commit these acts of crime and violence. 40% had a past background of criminal misbehavior. 24% have been under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but 70% had previously brought a weapon to school, and that's the biggest single indicator of potential future problems.
Mr. Stevens, thanks. No offense intended, but I hope we won't see you again very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We are going to go on to the other news in just a moment. There is other news today. A dictator steps aside. Is it going to make any difference in Indonesia? And the warnings of a computer apocalypse, we have an update on the 2000 bug. Some people are heading for the hills.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Maalox.
1 minute Maalox.
In hospitals, speed counts. Fast-acting medicines, doctors rely on them. So when patients get heartburn, they get 1 minute Maalox, not Pepcid AC.
Maalox goes to work on stomach acid in 1 minute. Pepcid AC could take over 45 minutes to affect acid.
1 minute Maalox.
Hospitals count on it.
Shouldn't you?
The #1 choice for hospitals. It's not Pepcid AC. It's 1 minute Maalox.
Honey, is there any of that chicken cacciatore left?
Look in the freezer.
The amazing Hefty One-Zip food bag. It clicks closed to lock in freshness.
Ice cream.
One-Zip, the Hefty Duty food bag.
I need to feel strong.
I need him. Because we all need something different to feel our best, One A Day has created different formulas. One especially for women, one for men, and one for people over 50. One A Day. It's just what you need.
The big news overseas is very much Indonesia. It was quite stunning last night. After all the violence of the last week and all the tension about whether the Indonesian dictator Suharto would be overthrown, he suddenly popped up on television and said perfectly calmly that he was leaving. And right there on television, there was his protege, B.J. Habibie, calmly being sworn in to replace him. It was also well-mannered, and yet it is a remarkable moment for Indonesians and for the United States. First in Jakarta, ABC's Mark Litke.
For a moment today, the entire nation held its breath. Then in an instant, the Suharto era was over. Students occupying the nation's Parliament Square were euphoric.
All the students were very happy. They just yelling, yes, freedom, freedom.
But even before the cheering died down, serious concerns were being raised about the stability and competency of the government replacing President Suharto. The new president, B.J. Habibie, began by saying all the right things. He promised to implement economic and political reforms and to always listen to the people. But the Indonesian people know well that Habibie owes his position and his wealth to his lifelong friendship with Suharto.
The reform movement didn't start and get its momentum just to replace Suharto with Habibie.
Opposition leaders suspect Suharto will try to remain the power behind the throne.
If the new cabinet stinks with nepotism, then I will not endorse Mr. Habibie's government.
Already, student leaders are vowing to keep the pressure on to replace Habibie. They're also demanding the prosecution of the Suharto family for years of corruption and human rights abuses. But cries for revenge could lead to a new confrontation with the military. The head of the armed forces not only swore his allegiance to the new president today, he said the military would protect the family and friends of Suharto. Still, nothing could dampen this extraordinary day of celebration. In only a matter of weeks, an Indonesian people power movement had emerged, triumphed, and the hope is will bequeath a very different Indonesia to the next generation. Mark Litke, ABC News, Jakarta.
President Suharto was in power for 32 years, and for most of that time, the United States was a staunch supporter. After all, he was staunchly anti-communist. So what now for the Clinton administration? Sam Donaldson joins us tonight from the White House. Sam, as you and I have been talking today, it's been about puzzlement and caution.
Well, Peter, administration officials are happy that Suharto stepped down. They thought that was an indispensable first step. But there's very little confidence here that Habibie's the man to take over. I mean, he's variously described as an economic eccentric, a Suharto clone, a loose cannon. And will the army let him alone? Will Suharto try to guide things behind the scene? I think what they're saying here is, thank goodness, we're out of the frying pan, but are we falling into the fire?
What do you think the White House is most afraid of, if anything?
Well, they're most afraid of that Suharto will still be able to control things and Habibie will not be able to effect the reforms. That, as you heard the opposition leaders, the bloodshed will continue. And the danger, Peter, is that the economic instability, I mean, today, the currency there is worth 20% of what it was a year ago, will continue to spread in Asia and to us.
Thanks, Sam, very much. Sam Donaldson at the White House this evening. When we come back, the Powerball winners, they've showed and technology on the cutting edge, detecting clear air turbulence before you're into it.
You don't have to be Italian to eat like one.
So then what does it mean being Italian?
It means loosen your belt, enjoy.
Is that it?
Yeah, it means have a breadstick and have more salad.
It means salute.
It means hospitaliano.
Hospitaliano.
Yeah, it means let me grate you some cheese. And you gotta taste this. And we can't do enough for you.
Enjoy Hospitaliano at the Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family.
I'm gonna do a tarantella on the table right now.
And not in those shoes, you know.
When some people have allergies, they sneeze a lot. Others get an itchy, runny nose or nasal congestion. Me, I had it all. So I said to my doctor, enough already. He prescribed Flonase nasal spray.
Multi-symptom Flonase. Once a day relieves all nasal allergy symptoms all day and all night long. For any or all of those nasal symptoms.
All it takes is Flonase.
For best results, Flonase must be used daily. Maximum relief may take several days. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Call to learn more. And now kids as young as 4 can use Flonase. For nasal allergy relief, ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase.
When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
You know how important calcium is, so start your day with Total, the only leading cereal that's an excellent source of calcium. In fact, Total has more calcium than the milk itself. No other leading cereal comes close. Total, one bowl, one great source of calcium.
For anyone who really hates looking up the numbers they call the most, Voice Dial from Uniden.
Name, please.
Pizza Man!
Dialing.
Uniden Voice Dial, because names are so much easier than numbers.
In California today, the plane is now on the ground, but several people on this Continental Airlines DC-10 were hurt when the flight ran into clear air turbulence over the Pacific. It can be a frightening experience for even the most seasoned traveler. For all of you who fly, however, take heart. The problem with clear air turbulence has been that pilots cannot detect it until now. Our report about technology on the cutting edge. Here's ABC's Lisa Stark.
This airplane has just hit clear air turbulence. The unexpected turbulence on the United jet cost one woman her life and injured scores of others. Today at Kennedy Airport, researchers working with the FAA tried out a ground-based laser device designed to warn pilots of clear air turbulence within 60 miles of an airport. The invisible laser beam picks up the sound generated by turbulent air.
The sound, as it passes the light beam, changes the speed of light.
That change is analyzed by a computer to determine the presence of turbulence.
Plane flying over.
The hope is to install this system at major U.S. airports in 5 years. NASA is testing a different sort of laser system to be used in flight.
So what we're doing here is we're directing the laser out in front of the plane. We're probing the atmosphere in front of the plane.
The laser shoots out 100 pulses a second, searching for tiny dust particles that are known to move erratically in clear air turbulence. The beam bounces off the particles back to the plane.
This one right here we ought to feel.
On board, a computer determines if there's turbulent air ahead.
3, 2, 1. That seems like a little less than 5 seconds.
Once the device detects turbulence, we fly right through it to see if the bumpy ride the airplane is experiencing matches the conditions predicted by the laser. Right now, the device gives only about 15 seconds warning of turbulence, but scientists say within 5 years they plan a laser powerful enough to give pilots the ability to see what up until now has been invisible. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Denver, Colorado.
The news today, in the biggest American lottery ever, there has been a winner. A retired couple from Streamwood, Illinois, has the winning ticket. Frank and Shirley Capassi, 62 years old. They're going to be Uncle Frank and Aunt Shirley to a lot of folks. They're going to collect a lump sum of $104 million. Their ticket was bought from a convenience store in Pell Lake, Wisconsin. ABC's Jim Williams has been there today.
When Pat Penio and Marion Kozarog arrived at their tiny Wisconsin store early this morning, they had no idea they had sold the winning ticket.
I always dreamed of turning on the lottery machine and having it say the name of our store.
The biggest sellers at the Lakeside Grocery and Deli had been fish bait and beer. But Pat and Marion sold thousands of Powerball tickets yesterday, including the winner at exactly 1:38 p.m. They did not remember who bought it, and throughout this community of 4,200, for a long time today, everyone was wondering.
I've heard that it was an 18-year-old girl that came in.
People going, "Oh, you're rich, oh, you're rich." I want to know who it is myself.
While the winner will collect $104 million, Wisconsin does not allow the seller of a winning ticket to collect a percentage of any jackpot. So Pat and Marion had to settle for fleeting fame.
You're the bigger celebrities right now.
Well, that's because you haven't found the winner yet, but when you find
That's true.
As we said, fleeting fame. Jim Williams, ABC News, Pell Lake, Wisconsin.
In Georgia today, Richard Jewell, who was mistakenly named as the chief suspect in the Olympic Park bombing, is in the news again for saving a baby from choking. He's been promoted to Sergeant Jewell now. He's second in command of the 5-man police force of Luthersville, just south of Atlanta. In just a moment, the computer problem, why some people are actually fleeing the cities and pulling all of their money out of the bank. It has to do with the year 2000.
Maybe it's because their frames are welded instead of bolted. Or because their decks are stamped from a single piece of steel. Or maybe it's the fact that they have the highest resale value in the industry.
Oh, hey, I always wanted one of these. Thanks, guys.
But the truth is, when people are asked what kind of lawn tractor they'd like as a gift, most say the same thing.
Happy birthday, Dad.
And with these new prices, the LX has never been easier to buy.
Here's to the weekend warrior in all of us, pushing our bodies beyond the norm. Mercifully, there's an advanced medicine called Advil. When the pain sets in, and it will, Advil works fast, right at the site of muscle pain, stopping it where it starts. Muscle aches to headaches, Advil relieves all kinds of pain. Advil simply lets people do what they love to do.
And tonight, we have a lovely caramelized meringue with braised greens and a gooseberry gastric, shredded arugula, and white truffled curried creme, pan-seared with smoked chanterelle, truly succulent basil peach chutney potato chutney. Excellent choice, sir.
You want anything on that?
No.
See, life doesn't have to be so complicated. A simple reminder from Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Simple is good.
You can't be in this business and not love flowers. You know, we grow over 500 million flowers a year. We want big flowers, and that's why we use Miracle-Gro. Growing plants is really easy. A dose of Miracle-Gro every so often, and I guarantee you, you're going to have nothing but great results.
You can feel it start to burn all through here. All you can think about is getting rid of it quickly. I even tried Zantac 75, but it didn't work fast enough. Finally, I asked my doctor, and my doctor said Mylanta. Fast-acting Mylanta was made to work fast, where heartburn hurts most. Soothing, on contact. It's so fast. My doctor said Mylanta.
And if you suffer from gas, there's a Mylanta just for you. Mylanta Gas.
Computers in the news again, but when are they not? Yesterday it was one failed communication satellite and millions of pagers that went out, among other things. Now about a 2000 computer bug update. You've heard us before on the fear that many of the nation's most essential computers will go wonky when 2000 produces one too many zeros. In fact, the leaders of the industrial nations were talking about it last weekend in Britain. ABC's James Walker is keeping us up to date.
At his new home in rural Arkansas, Gary North has his own natural gas well. He says it's his ticket for survival.
I'm in control of this. I'll do it again. That cheers me up.
The well gives him his own power, which he thinks he'll need when the computer bug strikes. He believes it may shut down the whole country.
If electrical power goes out for 60 days, you will lose most of what we call Western civilization.
Though North's view is extreme, many say it's not entirely far-fetched. Steve Hawk is a technology analyst who has just studied the financial reports of the 250 largest companies in the U.S., companies which were under government order to explain how they're combating the year 2000 problem.
Half of them stonewalled and gave no meaningful information at all about their year 2000 projects. Secondly, those who did give information have made very little progress.
So little progress that it's not at all clear if automakers will be able to get supplies needed to build cars, or that the nation's energy system will be able to deliver power. With fewer than 600 days left, the federal government is doing no better. The Government Accounting Office just released a report saying at the current pace, some vital computer systems will not be ready, including air traffic control and payments to disabled veterans. As time marches on, professionals who have to fix the computer bug are becoming more and more pessimistic. In one survey, more than a third said they may take their money out of the bank in case the banking system fails. Software expert Ed Jordan thinks there is just too much work to be done, too little time.
It's roughly equivalent to trying to produce a baby in 1 month by impregnating 9 women. You can't just speed up at the end and attempt to accomplish something that really should have been started much earlier.
Which is why he's moving his family from New York City to the country, where there's less demand on power supplies, and he says less chance of being bitten by the millennium bug. James Walker, ABC News, Taos, New Mexico.
Given the way things are going, we'll have another story before long. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost more than 39 points to close at 91.32. On the NASDAQ market, stocks lost 10.76. A price war has broken out over the new impotence drug Viagra. This week, Kmart began advertising prescriptions at $8 a pill compared to the recommended price of $10. Then Walmart responded with a price that was 20 cents less. The staggering demand for Viagra had at one point driven the cost as high as $16 a pill. We will be back with our top story in just a moment.
Looking for a fast fix for the flat on your F-150 or a sleek new shine on your Stingray? Ever need that hard-to-find power steering fluid for your Prelude or tire wet for your Tercel? No matter what you need, Pep Boys has it. Virtually any additive, wash, or fluid that you'd want for any vehicle. Now get Pennzoil at a super low price of just 99 cents a quart. Or get Pennzoil for only 69 cents a quart after mail-in rebate when you buy a case. Don't miss out. Pennzoil by the quart, 99 cents, or by the case, only 69 cents after rebate. Pep Boys. Everything but gas.
The best way to stop suffering from allergies is never to start. This is Nasal Crom. You heard right. Nasal Crom. It's allergy prevention. Nasal Crom doesn't just relieve allergies. It flat out prevents them, preventing the natural defenses in your nose from going haywire. So you can live like a person with no allergies. Nasal Crom's like nothing else. No drowsiness, no jitters, no rebound congestion. Nasal Crom. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
Busy day on Wall Street.
How do you stay ahead?
Stocks ended mixed. The S&P 500
You watch.
Cautiously optimistic.
Listen. Gather facts. Know as much as you can. And pay as little as you can. Mutual Fund OneSource only from Schwab, including historically high-performing no-load funds and more from over 90 fund families. Call now for the latest select list and get investing
the way it should be.
ABCnews.com, the first place for news online. Get your news first from ABCnews.com, on the web and America Online.
Just a brief review of today's lead story. There was another school shooting today in Springfield, Oregon. A 15-year-old boy opened fire in a high school, killing at least one person and injuring many more. The boy's parents were found shot to death at home. The boy had been expelled yesterday for bringing a gun to school. So many people have said somewhat cynically today, here we go again. Kids and guns and schools. Moses Lake, Washington. A 14-year-old student with a hunting rifle killed his algebra teacher and 2 students. He wounded a third. Bethel, Alaska. A 16-year-old used a shotgun to kill the high school principal and a classmate. He wounded 2 others. Pearl, Mississippi. A 16-year-old using a rifle killed 2 students and wounded 7 others. Paducah, Kentucky. It was a 14-year-old student using a pistol. 3 students dead, 5 others wounded. At that middle school in Jonesboro, Arkansas, 2 boys, you remember 111, 113? Using handguns and rifles, kill 4 students and a teacher. Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, 14-year-old with a pistol shot and killed a science teacher. Fayetteville, Tennessee, an honors student using a rifle shot and killed a schoolmate. This is why there's a national debate about guns and violence and television and movies, and whether we adults are teaching our kids the right lessons. That is our report on World News Tonight. Later on Nightline, they'll look more deeply at these questions. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
Tomorrow, was the Civil War just about slavery and race or something else? America's newest obsession. A closer look. Watch World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.